What's good, people? Today, the topic of interest is avoiding false purposes. So, the aim of this video is to share three things with you. One, how to find your purpose if you don't know how to do that already. Two, the criteria to know whether or not you found a true purpose. And three, what the false purposes are. Because normally, if a person hasn't found a true purpose for their life or they're not working towards that, they fall into the category of being occupied by false purposes. And a false purpose is something that gives you the illusion that you really are advancing. It gives you the illusion that you really are making progress or becoming more, but really you're not. What you're really doing is it's actually just sucking you dry and stopping you from becoming all that you can be. So it's a false purpose. Okay, so I'm going to first of all start off with one of my favorite biblical passages, and it's a proverb. And it says this, it says that without vision, my people perish, or without vision, people lose restraint. Now, what that passage is getting at is it's saying that when you have a vision, when you have a goal, when you have a direction for your life, what normally happens is that as a result of having direction, you put restrictions and limitations upon yourself. You put boundaries upon yourself because you're pursuing a particular ideal. In order for you to achieve that and actualize that, there's certain things that you no longer do as a result. In order for you to attain this goal, you can't go here anymore, right? You've picked a side. Now, when you don't have a true vision or you've not like articulated a goal for yourself, what happens is that you leave yourself open. So there are no restrictions, there's no restraint, and that leads to your very bondage. Like all of us included, myself included, when I don't have a goal, when I don't have a vision, I do stupid things. Like we all do stupid things. You end up talking to people that you shouldn't be talking to. You end up interpreting or entertaining conversations you shouldn't be. You end up in environments that you have no business being in because there's no restraint. There's no criteria, there's no boundaries there, and that leads to your demise. Because true freedom is actually found in restraint. It's found in limitations on yourself. It's only through that you are truly free. Otherwise, you become a slave. Ironically, it's a paradox, but that's what it is. So, what are the four criteria to know that you found a true purpose? So the first criteria to know that you found a true purpose is that one, you grow and improve as a person. And and as a result of your growth, you're facing your fears, you're becoming more, and your capacity is enlarging. When you feel that, that's normally a good sign that you found a true purpose. Now, the second sign that you found a true purpose is that one, your growth will not only benefit you, but will benefit those around you. Because your growth isn't just for you. Because as you elevate, as you improve, you're able to elevate those around you. You're able to impact others. Your purpose is normally bigger than yourself. It's normally a higher goal than just you. The third sign that you found a true purpose is that it makes the challenges of life bearable, right? Because when you're having challenges and things are going wrong, like you get stabbed in the back, right? Somebody betrays you, or you keep failing repeatedly, you're able to find an empowering meaning from that and persist because you feel like all these challenges, all these hurdles that you're experiencing are contributing to a higher goal, to a higher thing, a higher ideal. When you don't have that, you can become resentful and bitter. Like all these inconveniences that you have, you don't just shake them off, you hang on to them. You're like, oh, I can't believe this person did that to me, because there's no empowering meaning from it. You don't draw any empowering meaning from it because you feel like your life has no purpose, no direction. The fourth sign as well that you haven't found it, that you have found a true purpose, is that some form of sacrifice or some form of restraint, some form of limitations are placed upon you as a result of this. So in order for you to achieve this ideal, there's certain things that you no longer do anymore. Like I said before, you've picked a side. You've chosen your side of the fence. Now, how does a person find their purpose? So I've done a detailed video on this. This is on the 21 days of Chiz, day 21. We talked about that. Now, but to summarize it in a whole, because we can't make this video too long, is one, you normally will be able to find your purpose when you go out and you experience and you do things, you experiment and try things. Now, like nobody wakes up one morning and realizes, you're like, my purpose is to save the polar bears. Like nobody wakes up with that, or very few people do. You won't just wake up with a whole vision for your life, but it starts off with you creating small visions for yourself. So it could start off with this, rather than what do I want for my life, what do I want out of the day, what do I want out of the week, what do I want out of the month, right? It's only through you putting like some, or creating a goal and a vision, or some form of direction from yourself, that you're able to begin to move forward. And as you begin to move forward, your self-esteem begins to grow, and then you land on other things, because purpose normally has layers. You start off doing something, then as you achieve that ideal, you find something else, right? That's another layer. You peel it back like an onion, and then you do something else, you peel it back, and then the vision begins to explore itself, or it begins to reveal itself to you. You have a revelation of the thing, but it starts off with you taking action. But if you want the detailed video, watch that one, 21 days of Chiz, day 21. Now, what are I'm going to share now with you guys the four false purposes, and so be aware of these things. So the first form of a false purpose is attention. Now, when a person's continuously getting attention, you can begin to think that you really are advancing, that you're elevating, because everyone's giving you attention. They're liking your stuff, they're commenting, they're like, ha 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 ha, that's so great, right? Because they're encouraging you, think that, rah, I'm really making progress, rah, I'm really making movements. And you see this a whole lot on social media. Like, everybody's an influencer, everybody's a thought leader. But the problem with being guided solely by attention and using attention as your barometer for purpose is that it breaks all four of the rules that I just gave you before. The thing about with attention is that one, you're not grounded in anything. So when the attention is removed, when people are no longer liking your stuff the same way, they're not giving you the same attention. One, it begins to attack your sense of self worth. You begin to think like, oh my goodness, have I lost it? Is there something wrong with me? And as a result, you become a clown. You become a chameleon. You begin to pursue the things that are attention. You become what do people call it? A clout chaser? People call it a clout chaser. You become a clout chaser, right? You start following trends, so you're not grounded in anything. You waver all over the place. Remember the rules that I gave you. One, when you're drawn by attention, solely by attention. One, are you really growing and improving as a person? No, not really. Two, does your growth benefit other people? Maybe we can make a case for that. Like through attention, maybe you can promote other things. Maybe. The third thing is, does it make the challenges of life bearable? Nope. If anything, it creates problems for yourself when the attention is taken away. Four, is there some form of sacrifice or restraint placed upon you? No, because you compromise your values to get more of that, so you're not grounded in anything. But what normally happens is that when you create a vision for yourself, normally when you start off, people are excited for you, but then their attention wanes and it disappears, and then you're on your own. And as you begin to elevate, as you begin to improve different and cultivate different aspects of your life, the attention comes as a result of that. It comes as a result of you improving and developing yourself. People admire that. So it's slightly different. So attention is a false form of purpose. Gives you that dopamine hit, gives the illusion that you're progressing, but you're not. It's a false purpose. The second form of a false purpose is cynicism. So cynicism is a person who, or cynist or a nihilist is a person who believes that life has no meaning, life has no purpose. Like we're just here to exist. There's no meaning in anything. Now, there's a really good quote that I found that I had to quote for this one, and it says that a man would rather have the void as purpose than no purpose at all. So a person would rather feel the void of emptiness with a purpose of telling themselves that life has no meaning, right? Than trying to face the reality that and understanding that there's a void there. The reason there's a void there is because your life needs to have purpose. It needs to have direction. Humans by nature are designed to be moving forward, progressing. That's your natural state. And when a person doesn't have a direct goal, or they feel like there's no goal, they create one for themselves. Now, the thing about a nihilist or somebody who's a cynist, who believes that there's no meaning in anything, is that person is really just fearful. That person is fearful, and that person is really cowardly. They're too afraid to go out there and try things. They're too afraid to experience failure, to experience criticism. So they sit there. And when you have that cynic mentality, that nihilistic mentality, you really begin to think that you've elevated. You're like, haha, I've elevated above society. Like, I know, look at all these fools busy exerting energy, trying to become more. Life has no meaning, right? So you've got that false form of elevation. You really think that you've elevated, but you haven't. You haven't advanced. Really, you're just being cowardly. So that's the second false form of purpose. Somebody who's nihilistic, a coward. The third form of false purpose is pleasure. Now, pleasure takes many different forms. Like I said, when you don't have a clear sense of purpose, you end up indulging in lower forms of purpose. So lower forms of purpose is pleasure. So what does that entail? That could be indulging in sex. That could be indulging in parties, debauchery. That could be indulging in alcohol, gambling. Sometimes even education, personal development is also a form of a false purpose to a degree. Now, the reason why these are false purposes is because, one, they don't really lead to your growth. They don't really lead to anything. The loads of these things that I've just mentioned before are things that people use to cope with the pain that they feel. So they work jobs that they don't hate, or they live lives that they don't like, then they indulge in these things to numb the pain. Now, these things are fun. In and of themselves, in the moment, they're fun. But after that, you're left with a feeling of emptiness. There's no real growth or elevation that's come from that. You've had fulfillment when you feel you're growing and you're making progress. These things aren't really progressing you in any way. Parties aren't really progressing you in any way. Gambling's not progressing you in any way. And as a result, because after the dopamine hit, there's no feeling of elevation, it leads you wanting more of these things. And the reason why you continuously go for more of these things is because it distracts you from the pain that you feel. Many people are in pain. The majority of the population are in pain, and they don't really know it because they've not really sat down and really sat with that feeling of discomfort, or really had really, really honest conversations with themselves. When you get honest, you really begin to realize how much a person really begins to realize how much pain they're actually in, right? But that level of honesty is rare unless it's incited by somebody or brought about through destruction. So that's a false form of purpose. And personal development is the same. You can sit there and you can be reading a whole bunch of different books. Like, yes, it's good to read books, but elevation only comes through application of doing the thing. So once again, pleasure is another one that breaks all the rules. One, are you growing as a person? No. Is your growth benefiting anyone? No, because you're not growing. You're indulging in pleasure. Three, does it make challenges of life bearable? Yeah, because you're distracting yourself. Four, is some form of sacrifice or restriction placed upon you as a result of it? No. There's no restrictions because there's always going to be more. You're never satisfied with that. So that's a false form of purpose. The last false form of purpose is money. So being guided solely by money. Now, the problem with being guided solely by money is one, it also breaks a lot of the rules, but two, it leads to a life that lacks fulfillment and lacks like what's the word for it? It lacks, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But what it really does is that it robs you of creating a life that's in line with your values. If you're solely driven by money, yes, you may advance, yes, you may progress, but it actually robs you of your uniqueness. It robs you of who you really could be because you fall into the crowd, you merge into the crowd when all money is the only thing. Because yes, you may advance, but as you get into your later years, you realize that, man, I was stripped of my individuality. I didn't have to progress any of my unique traits. I didn't have to become more in that particular way. And as you get old, what happens is that these new young bucks start coming through. These new Mbappes and Erling Haalands, for my football fans, y'all know what I'm talking about. These new young guns start coming through who will be also in the pursuit of money, and then you are no longer valuable anymore because you didn't create anything that was of value to anybody else. You just got money. So sure, it may advance you in the short term. Yes, it may improve the life of others, but is it have you really put restrictions upon yourself? Oftentimes not, because you compromise your values to get more, and as a result of you always trying to get more, there's no limitation on it. You don't know when there is enough money. There's no parameter for that. So those are the four forms of false purposes: attention, pleasure, money, cynicism. That's the video of the day. You guys take care, and I'll be back again tomorrow for the next one. Peace.